We are learning more about the moments leading up to that deadly gunfight in Toronto over the weekend. It happened Sunday night between police officers and a 16-year-old who died today in hospital. Now, usually at this early stage of the investigation, we wouldn't know much about what happened. But CBC is one of the news organizations that's obtained body cam footage that sheds light on how things unfolded. And Sarah Galashan has taken a look at the footage and also heard what the SIU Special Investigations Unit has had to say. What do we know?
Well, Ian, so this was 11 p.m. Sunday night in North York, near the corner of Shepherd and Bathurst. And just to remind everybody, police had pulled over this red Infiniti because it didn't have a front license plate. There were 6 people in it. They were told to get out of the vehicle. And to this point, what we have had is sort of a wide-angle shot of this, eventually showing the gunfire coming from police who were positioned on either side, the front and the back of this vehicle. And now we know that somebody inside the vehicle, the 16-year-old male, taken to hospital now, has died in hospital. What we do now have, though, is this new footage from a police body camera obtained by CBC. It does show something different, and I'm going to play it in just a second, but I do want to warn that it does obviously show violence. It's going to be potentially troubling to some, but what you do see is that prior to being on either side of the vehicle, they were both officers on either the passenger and driver's side doors. And as one of the officers is escorting or helping or telling the people to get out of the vehicle, there is a moment, it happens very quickly, and it's after that that you suddenly hear the gunshot and you realize that the police are firing. Let me play you that.
Male, come on, please. Oh, sorry, my bad. Yeah. Yeah, come on, buddy. Take cover!
So as I say, that happens very quickly, but we were, Ian, able to slow that right down. And this is going to be difficult maybe even to see with our Steadicam here. But this freeze frame does show what appears to be a weapon, a gun, in the hand of that final passenger that was exiting out of the back seat. Yeah, we have watched that video a lot. It happens so quickly. Whatever happens quickly. And then you hear lots of gunshots. So we have the video. We're also hearing, as I say, from the SIU about the investigation. Right. And so the video does obviously show quite a bit more than we had or knew before. What we are hearing from the SIU, though, is the investigation is still ongoing. This is one piece of evidence. There are multiple things that they will be considering, but they too have looked at this body camera footage and they do comment on that. So take a listen to that.
We have body-worn camera footage, and there's also some in-car camera footage, CCTV, that sort of thing. So, but at the early stages, it does appear, based on video evidence, that it was the 16-year-old who fired at officers, and then the 2 officers who discharged.
So this investigation happening essentially, well, because the police have obviously drawn a weapon, that does always happen. In this case, the 16-year-old now has died. But in addition to the footage, they also have to do the forensics on the vehicle, figure out the trajectory, the path of the various bullets. And there were multiple that were fired at this vehicle. Were they coming from within the vehicle? Were they being shot only at the vehicle? And then there's the interviews to be done with the 5 other occupants of that vehicle, a 20-year-old man, 18-year-old woman, both from Toronto, and then 3 female youths who were both from Toronto and Brampton.
Yeah, I mean, a traffic stop that began, apparently, we hear, because that Infiniti didn't have a front license plate and ended so violently and so tragically. Sarah, thank you very much. Well, to help us break down the next steps in this investigation and also better understand what we see in that video, we've reached Gary Clement. He's a former RCMP superintendent and a former municipal police chief in Ontario, currently the chief anti-money laundering officer for VersaBank and a terrific police analyst. And he joins us now from Ottawa. And Gary, let's start with the body cam footage. I know you've seen the excerpt that we have obtained. And as we play it, I'm curious what you were thinking as you watched it.
Male, come on, please. Oh, sorry, my bad. Yeah. Yeah, come on, buddy.
And so, Gary, that all happened so quickly. It's hard even to tell on the first pass what exactly is happening. But from your perspective as a veteran police officer, what do you see there?
What I see is a normal police investigation at the start. Two officers, they pull a car over for legitimate reasons, license plate missing. They ask the individuals to exit the vehicle, and it's very evident that the officer sees an individual in the back seat. We can't see it clearly, but we can see it clear enough that he had something in his hand, and the officer, it's quite clear to me, he saw it as a gun. He did it textbook, what you're supposed to do. He immediately calls out gun, 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 gets cover at the back of the car. The other officer gets to the front, and then unfortunately the firing starts, and sadly there's a victim. But the way this was handled according to training. The officers actually did a very good job. It's just unfortunate when guns are in play like this that somebody's going to get hurt.
In your long experience as a police officer, were you ever in a situation like this where, what appears to be a routine situation, in this case, a traffic stop, all of a sudden turns into something this violent?
Involved where it did turn violent. Fortunately, there was no shooting occurred, but definitely a need for firearms to be drawn and some a use of force to be applied. I mean, it's unfortunate, more so today since I've left policing. These things are becoming, sadly, the norm rather than the rare occurrence.
One maybe good thing that's changed since your career in policing is body cams. We're just starting to get them in use among some police agencies in Canada. I assume, as not only a former police officer, but a former chief, a former supervisor of other officers, it must change everything to have body cam footage for investigators here.
Does. We're in an era now where everybody's got a phone and everybody videos everything. And sadly, what ends up happening oftentimes, we're only seeing a fraction of what somebody has taken rather than the whole incident. So for the benefit of not just the police officers, but the public, I think the body cameras have been a godsend for policing today. It is a new era, and I think we have to capitalize on the technologies out there, which ends up showing that the officers are trying to serve the public in their best interest, and at least we've got a video recording of what occurs.
What are some of the principles here that the SIU, the Special Investigations Unit, will be looking at as they do their investigation? I mean, the basics are already clear. They've already said that there was an exchange of gunfire. We heard the SIU spokesperson say that unfortunately the young man who was killed shot first. So they have a lot of those details. So what are they going to focus on now?
They're going to put the whole incident together. They have eyewitnesses, obviously everybody in the car, they got the officers. So they want to paint a complete picture of exactly what happened and the steps that were taken. I don't really see this one being, it can't go anywhere but what you're actually seeing today. I think that it is pretty cut and dry, but they also want to know what was the purpose of the gun. All of these things are going to come into it. Was it a stolen firearm? What was the role of the other individuals in the car? All of these things are going to play into this. And so it's not over because of the one, and sadly there is a victim, but it's not over because one person was shot. They want to know about all the individuals in that car, and they want to know what was going through the police officers, what else they might have seen prior to the shooting. So all of that's going to come into play.
As I looked at that footage today, and I looked at it a few times, and I slowed it down, I kept asking myself, what was the guy thinking that took those shots? Why would you, as part of a routine traffic stop, all of a sudden, as you're getting out of the back seat of that vehicle, pull a gun out when you're surrounded by police officers? It's not going to end well. Again, as a veteran police officer Gary, I mean, why do people make decisions like that? Or is there sometimes it's just, it's a mystery you'll never be able to solve?
I think you said it, it's a mystery. And I think what is really important to note here, it just shows that a police officer has seconds to make a decision. Had that police officer not taken the decisive action, then it comes down to being well-trained and using your muscle memory, because had that not occurred, we might be talking about something else here tonight. So what prompts individuals to do that, I don't think we'll ever know. He may be a wanted individual. We just don't know all the facts, Ian, but let's hope that they get to the bottom of it, which I'm sure they will.
As you know, I always appreciate your analysis on issues like this and your ability to look at that video and give us a kind of a police officer or retired police officer's perspective on it. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ian. Good speaking with you.
Gary Clement joined us from Ottawa.